Glenn Greenwald, an American journalist who rose to prominence for his role in publishing Edward Snowden's leaks about the NSA surveillance programs in 2013, has been getting dragged on the internet after a sex tape of Glenn was allegedly leaked prior to his anticipated appearance on the Tucker Carlson Show in May of 2025. The timing of the leak has led to speculation that its release was done in an attempt to silence Glenn over his views of foreign influence in the Middle East, largely reflecting a growing theory that American politics are held at gunpoint by long-running blackmail operations, a theory driven by most recently Ian Carroll, who derives most of his work from Whitney Webb, the author of One Nation Under Blackmail. Suleiman Ahmed posted a clip of the Tucker Carlson Show featuring the speech he believes is being targeted by the blackmail operation. Here's the clip.
One of the set of files we released described the intelligence relationship that we have with Israel, that the NSA has with Israel. Israel is the #1 recipient of NSA technology and NSA intelligence. We share more with Israel, even more than we do with the Five Eyes partners who develop this technology. We give more to Israel, more intelligence, raw intelligence about Americans as well, and more intelligence know-how. But at the same time, the documents that describe who are our greatest intelligence threats, who are our greatest intelligence adversaries, who spies on us the most, who is capable of spying out the most, #1 on the list is Israel as well. Obviously, the Israelis use, the most dangerous spying programs like Pegasus and others come from Israel, are developed by Israel, are controlled by the Israelis, by which I simply mean to say that Israel uses every weapon at its disposal, including gathering incriminating information about its enemies.
However, there is another angle to the story. Many others, including Laura Loomer, have pointed out some oddities that poke holes in the former's argument. First, we have the abundance of screenshots and screen recordings that show that Glenn Greenwald reposted the leaked video from his primary account. Even Mediaite included this in the reporting of the story. Secondly, we have the nature of the video itself. As Laura Loomer points out, nobody forced him to be gay and record his kink. He did that himself. To put simply, Glenn was clearly aware that he was being recorded in the video, with even a later moment of him showing a receipt to the camera to prove he did indeed send $2,000 via PayPal to the other unnamed man in the video. Glenn addressed the tape with a statement that he released on X, which confirms the acts were indeed consensual, but he states the video was published without his knowledge and is criminal. But this still begs the question, if he didn't release it himself, was the video dropped in an effort to smear him and attack his credibility? Or is Glenn lying about who published the video in a sick fetish for humiliation? For the most part, the reactions to this scandal have fallen into two distinct camps. The first group, the I don't cares, who have largely swarmed Glenn with support from the likes of Candace Owens, Ian Carroll, Clint Russell, and even James O'Keefe, all sharing the common theme of, I don't care that you are gay, your journalism is what matters. The second group, the I do cares, had the opposite reaction. Robbie Starbuck, Andrew Wilson, Homath, and Les Wheeler calling out what they perceive as complete debasement and a perversion of what God intended, a more Christian rebuke of what was observed in the video. This has caused some predictable clashes exhibited by Clint Russell and Andrew Wilson, where Clint Russell quotes Andrew's post of questioning why so many conservatives are leaping to support Greenwald by saying, if you want to bury him because he's gay, fine, I will not. This post in particular struck me as odd due to the fact that Clint Russell is a libertarian while Wilson is a Christian populist. Why would Russell expect that Wilson shares the same end goals for society? Furthermore, even outside of the Christian framework, there has been pushbacks to the grotesque contents of the video, with Homath writing, if I ever knew anyone who did what Glenn Greenwald did, I would never speak to or listen to that person again. That would indicate to me this person is not okay at the core and cannot be trusted. Sexuality is at the core of everything you are. There is no I only do that separately from the rest of my life. Sex is who you are when you are the most you that you ever get to be, pointing to the psychoanalysis framework laid by Sigmund Freud that places heavy emphasis on sexuality. Now, perhaps the most relevant person to speak on the issue, former homosexual Milo Yiannopoulos writes, Glenn's husband, who appears to have died of complications from ass to mouth, was a porn director. Can you even fathom how much worse these videos get? And you imbecile shut-ins actually believe this tame by homo standards video is Zionist compromat? Pointing out that not only does he believe this insane video is tame by homosexual standards, but because of that belief, it makes him think that it is much less likely this leak was blackmail. Both theories regarding how this video was published are plausible, and as someone who strongly believes in Whitney Webb's work, I actually find it more believable that Glenn posted this himself. Whether by accident or an extension of a humiliation fetish, at this point in time there is simply more evidence, as exhibited by the screenshots, than there is of blackmail. However, as it pertains to Christianity, let the overwhelming support from conservative pundits forever be a reminder that conservative does not mean Christian and hasn't for a very long time. Now, does that mean that Glenn Greenwald needs to be shunned and ostracized from society? Possibly. But the real crux comes down to not caring, because as a Christian, you should care that someone is participating in something that self-destructive and I would say satanic, especially when children are involved. I would also point out that everyone seemed to care about Hunter Biden's sexcapades when it was politically expedient. Why not hold the same value now with Greenwald? And at the end of the day, we should pray for Glenn's repentance and salvation, and rebuking someone can be done with love. But saying I don't care is a virtue signal that denies even the most basic gut instincts of the human body that recoil in disgust when they observe the acts that Glenn partook in. And by extension of such, there is also the element that there are children involved. And I would hearken that back to a popular meme that has been growing, which does highlight the running theme among gay couples, whether they are conservative or liberal. They both seem to have an interest in purchasing boys. This is something that I do think is alarming and should be discussed at a higher level, especially among Christian communities. Should homosexual parents be allowed to adopt children? I would argue no, for many, many reasons. And I think the top reason for that is because a child does need both a mother and a father. I think anything outside of that is a perversion, again, of what God intended. Now with that, let me know what you guys think. Where are your heads at? Do you think I'm in the wrong? Is there something I missed about the story? Let me know, and I will see you guys in the comments. Take care.